Divine Feminine, if he's stepping back instead of stepping up, it's time to move on. Now, let me prerequisite this message with a few clear disclaimers and pointers. I am speaking to those of you, and you will know if this is true for you or not, who are pursuing your spiritual awakening, your soul's evolutionary path. You could call it your ascension path, with dignity, integrity, accountability, and in devotion to the Most High. So I'm not speaking to the wounded feminine energy that does not reflect on her own behavior, that is not willing to do the deep alchemical work to transform that which has been in shadow and in the unconscious realms into a space of integration. I'm not speaking to those that are cycling through princess or maiden energy and expecting a white knight to come and save them, and who are still playing in those actual, projecting the father-daughter dynamic onto their relational dynamics, intimate relational dynamics. I'm not speaking to the wounded feminine that is still highly insecure in her attachment style and moving from trauma bonds. I'm speaking to those of you who have been devoted to this inner work process, and you'll know who you are. If you are in a dance with an individual, you're on a hieros gamos path, you're on a twin flame path. Twin flame being, let's be clear about the definition here, path of self-mastery, union with God, devotion to love, anchoring unconditional love and sovereignty, first within yourself, and then to create a shared morphogenic field with a beloved that can amplify the energetics of this planet. If you are on this path and you are devoted to this path, and you've been in a dance with a masculine that has stepped back from your connection instead of stepping up into your connection, it's time to move on. What do I mean by stepping back? Stepping back could be that he has rejected you, that on some level he's pulled away, he's been avoidant, he's projecting heavily onto you, he's being triggered by you without being willing to investigate what's behind those triggers, what the charge is behind those triggers. He is ghosting you, he's hot and cold, he is unstable in the connection. If he is in any way pulling away, within traditional, mainstream twin flame teachings, and a lot of those are not true twin flame teaching dynamics, but in a lot of that rhetoric, people talk about the chaser and the runner. So if he's running per se, and there is a natural kind of push-pull that happens as we're starting to harmonize through the energies, but if there is a runner energy present in your connection, and you're doing the work, and he, there may be a brief period with a counterpart or with a masculine energy in general. You may not be moving through this twin flame path with one individual. I'm going to be making a separate video speaking to the fact that twin flame is a template, not a person. We'll get to that. But if you are noticing that the masculine presence in your field is in some way being unstable, maybe you've taken time apart and you are really incoherent and there is still no stepping up energy, it's time to move on. You qualify yourself spiritually in your mastery through your refined standards. You qualify yourselves for this union, for this template that has been encoded within your heart, that you came here to anchor. You qualify yourself for it by embodying the standards that are required to sustain this relationship. And that is integrity, boundaries, sovereignty, honoring truth, honoring the highest, not just egoic desire, not just your own agenda, not wounded inner child energy that's acting out, but your highest, most exalted feminine energy leading the way in this connection. So if there is this masculine mirror in your life that is not stepping up and not rising with you, you are not supposed to be in a waiting energy. You are not supposed to be in a stalled energy. You are the dynamic force in this connection. You are not designed to sit and stew. The masculine naturally seeks out, is naturally the hunter, naturally moves towards that which inspires him to rise, inspires him in his mission, that inspires him to be better, to do better. That is what healthy masculine energy does. It contains, it protects, it provides for, not just financially, energetically with his presence, for an energy that he reveres, that he loves, that he honors. If that masculine is not showing up in this way, you are not supposed to be waiting. You are not supposed to be circulating in a lot of mental activity, wondering. Let me put an end to that for you right now. Your task to qualify yourself for the union is to move on. What does that mean? We do have to straddle a balance here. Our task as the divine feminines is to keep our hearts open whilst also maintaining fierce boundaries and integrity. So when we have experienced a masculine presence that hasn't shown up and has stepped back, what tends to happen is the heart closes and we can move on, but we're moving on from a space that is absent of our open-hearted energy, a space that's cold, remote, angry, resentful, bitter, lacking forgiveness towards the other, right? So we're moving on from a very guarded energy. So there is a nuance to this moving on. It is a moving on with integrity. It is recognizing the standards you require that God has set for you for this template to be secured, for the level of impeccability required to sustain these connections to truly come into fruition. Both counterparts have to be ready. They have to both be self-actualized in this template and standard, not just one. So it's recognizing the standards that God has set for you, but also making the choice to move on with your heart open. So that means making sure that you are really purifying the heart space, noticing, are you harboring resentment? Are you harboring judgment? Your masculine presence is a mirror for you, helping you to actually come into deeper mastery. Even the most painful experiences, the most painful mirrors, give us the opportunity to learn very profound and very catalyzing soul lessons that can actually be quantum leaps for us if we allow them to be, into greater self-mastery, into greater self-actualization, into embodying the truth of who we are. We have to be willing to move through the alchemical process to transmute the pain into power. That's something that we have to choose for ourselves. Otherwise, we continue to cycle in that wounded feminine energy of feeling like the victim of our experience. So this path is asking us to walk through the fire, to be refined by the fire, and to rise like a phoenix from the ashes. Through every death portal, there is a rebirth. So your heart for this next phase must be open and available, open as a channel for love. That's your purpose, divine feminine. It's to have an open heart, a heart that is resting in unconditional love and compassion. And there is a mastery between open-heartedness and being really connected to your power and your boundaries and your sovereignty. It's a dance I've been being schooled in for many years on my spiritual path. I feel like I'm starting to come into greater coherence with this now, but I've definitely been tested on this recently. You know, it's been a real journey to find that balance between the two. So this is the energy that we're being guided to move on from. And it is an open heart is not a heart that is closing doors and potentialities, is not harboring any, as I've said, unfelt or unexpressed emotions. An open heart is a purified heart. An open heart is a heart that is vulnerable and is open to all potentialities and allows love to lead the way. So you'll likely find that if you're in a connection with a masculine and there has been some stepping back on their part, you likely find that beneath the layers of grief and anger and whatever else has been triggered through the stepping back, that there is love there. You care, that's why you're having that response. So the task is to allow ourselves to feel whatever has arisen, whatever feelings and responses have arisen. That's natural to feel those responses when abandonment and rejection have been triggered. But to ultimately rest in the unconditional love of the soul that recognizes the other person is actually at a soul level being a profound teacher and catalyst for you to rise in your sovereignty. They're actually supporting you to become more refined, to love yourself more deeply. So they're actually being a great teacher for you. And it's not to kind of work in any absolutes. The heart doesn't work in absolutes. The mind does, but the open heart doesn't. So it's not to say, oh, well, I'll never, be in connection with this person again. I've got to completely shut them out of my life and awareness. It's not to have any preconceived ideas or judgments about the path moving forwards. It's to stay open to the great mystery, to let unconditional love lead the way. Instead of mental activity, instead of conditioning, instead of karma, instead of fear-based programming or trauma bonds, letting the open heart that really discerns truth, that qualifies whether something is true or not, letting the open heart lead the way. And when you can embody in this, when you have done this purification work with the heart and you are moving on, what that signals within the shared field between you and the masculine that is most aligned for you, the masculine that's vibrating at that level of integrity, what it signals in the shared field is that you are not in an energy of needing another to feel whole. You are not in an energy of outsourcing your power to another. It signals in the shared field that you have anchored in sovereignty, that you have anchored in your self-worth, that you are coming into greater wholeness and coherence. And then that's when you are ready for the union. From that space, that's when it comes in. When you actually pull your energy back from any connections, any projects, any experiences that don't honor what you know to be true in your heart of hearts, that is when you have self-actualized and actually qualified yourself for the level of devotion required in these connections, in these high level, what we might call twin flame or the hieros gamos connections, the sacred union connections. This is a path of self-mastery after all. I felt very inspired to share this because I had a really interesting experience with someone today that stepped forward in my reality, a masculine, who actually shared very vulnerably and courageously that he has romantic feelings for me, and actually made me a proposition asking me if I would be open to being in a romantic connection with him. And because of the journey I've been on, my previous connection dissolved last year, and because of the underworld journey I've been on to reclaim my self-worth, my self-value, to refine my needs, my standards, to get very clear on where the dissonance was in the connection, to get very clear on where I was not being accountable energetically as the priestess in our connection. That journey has allowed me to refine in all of those things and to become very aware in these things. And so I now know that the masculine presence that I'm most aligned with will be recognizable to me at a frequency level. It will not be because of the body, the form, any kind of tangible qualities necessarily. It won't matter how he dresses. It won't matter what words come out of his mouth. I can't be fooled by that anymore because I am attuned to the subtle to such a degree now that it is the frequency that I am interested in and attuned to. And so my whole system is very aware. I've been feeling this masculine presence in my field already. I'm in much deeper union with my own masculine frequency. I'm aware of the standard now. I'm aware of the frequency that is being called in, that is being integrated within myself, and will therefore be mirrored in the shared field. And I knew that this individual was not yet embodied in that frequency. And I shared that with honesty and clarity. And what I found really endearing was that when I shared this with honesty, he appreciated my sharing, and he said, I value you so much that you inspire me to want to step up and to make these changes that you've mentioned, because I shared my standards. I shared now what is absolutely non-negotiable for me in a connection. I've been able to refine in these things. And he said, you inspire me to step up. Your energy, your presence, your luminosity inspires me to step up. That's the difference. That's the difference between the wounded masculine or the wounded masculine and or masculine that is simply not for you, right? Not aligned with your trajectory. So we don't want to create, we don't want to project a villain energy onto someone that is just not on our aligned path. We let them go with love. We are ultimately interested in aligning with that which is in our highest best good, and we want that for those that we love as well, right? We don't want to just come into a connection for egoic satisfaction. That's never going to sustain. It will be dissolved, cannot be maintained when we're operating from this template. But a masculine that actually is inspired by you, that maybe recognizes, I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready for this connection yet. This masculine today recognized, okay, I already kind of knew that there were areas that I wasn't ready for this connection yet, that there were areas that maybe you would, say I need to develop myself. He was already self-aware in that. And he said he's willing to make the changes. That doesn't automatically mean that he's qualifying himself for the union. But what I'm sharing is that just that attitude of saying, you inspire me to rise, you inspire me to become a better man, to be the man I came here to be, which is what the feminine does. When the feminine is truly seen by the masculine, she inspires, she becomes the muse. So any masculine that is open and aware enough to say, I'm not ready, but I will do the work to become a resonant match for this frequency, whether it's me or someone else, to become a resonant match for this frequency. That's the kind of man and that's the kind of attitude from the masculine that really fosters healthy masculine energy. An attitude of, I'm willing to put in the work, I'm willing to grow, I want to grow. If you are in a connection with someone that is resistant to the work, resistant, to the growth, that you are having to drag along the connection with you, that is not the partner for you if you're on this template. You are looking for an equal. You're looking for someone that is going to rise with you and that is hungry as you are, to anchor in this sacred template. So allow those that step back instead of stepping up to disqualify themselves from the process. What do they say? Rejection is God's protection. Really recognize that a lot of time and energy is being saved on your behalf by those that disqualify themselves by rejecting you, abandoning you, ghosting you, avoiding you, etc. Let them go and be open and available for a masculine energy that is ready to rise. But maintain your standards, maintain the level of integrity and the values, the needs, the boundaries that you know in your heart must be in place for you in order to be in this connection. Do not compromise on that just because someone has the potential to rise. It must be an embodiment in that level of mastery. It must be an embodiment. Your embodiment must be mirrored back in the connection. It cannot be a connection built on potentials. We all have potential. Actualization of the potential is what counts. So if you are doing the work and you are really becoming actualized in your full potential feminines, then you will recognize at a frequency level a masculine that holds that level of empowerment, that holds that level of self-assuredness, that holds that connection to God, that is anchored in unconditional love, that has moved through the process of de-armoring his own heart to meet his own innocence and to resurrect and unite with his own feminine energetics, you will recognize that. So do not let, those tempting karmic threads of he's almost there, or some important things missing, but generally, no. If that person is for you, you will not be able to disrupt the coming together. It will happen in divine time. This connection is not about egoic gratification. It is about honoring and serving the divine. So that is not on our terms. That is really allowing ourselves to be conduits free. Very divine, sacred template, and a level of love that is paradigm shifting, that the earth has not seen in prevalence for a very, very long time. So honor the majesty of this template, honor the impeccability that's required. It will pay off. It will pay off. I hope this transmission has been helpful for you this evening. I'm sending lots of love for those who received this, who are resonating with it, for those on my soul fractal, in my soul tribe. And I so look forward to connecting with you again in the next transmission.